O'clock, we're going to start on my trusty. Oh, we're there. Okay. I want to call the June 2020 meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission to order. As a preliminary matter, this is Peter Collins, Chair. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. I'm going to do a roll call of all the members and then all the people that we anticipate to be on here to speak. So, Mr. Piker.
Michael Piker present.
Okay, thank you. I have Officer Amato on here, but I'm not sure if he's here or not. Officer Valieri.
Present.
Captain DeAndre.
Present.
Mr. Polito.
Present.
Mr. Nickerson.
Present.
Ms. Amory. I don't see a response for her. Okay, we'll move on. And Mr. Nelson.
Present.
All right, great. And also, Mr. Diggins, just to know you're here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. And Ms. Coleman.
Present.
Okay. Jessica and Angela, both present?
Present. Present.
All right. Anyone I forget, left out? Oh, is Barbara Kickham on? Or you're doing the stuff for her, right, Gia? You're the voice of the watershed, and the other. Sorry, and Ms. Burmeister. Are you with us, Jackie? I saw her on here for a second. Okay. All right. So good evening. The open meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with the Governor Baker's executive order on March 2nd, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the Corona-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the Corona-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's office orders suspend the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings at a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberation of the meeting. Ensuring the public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting of the Lake Commission is convening by telephone, conference video, Zoom app, whatever. I think we're in Zoom app, and we also have a telephone as posted on the town's website, identified how the public may join. Please note for this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that care not to screen share your computer unless asked by the chairperson or the staff person. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We are now turning for the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role of this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After the conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members first, and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. I will then call upon the members to offer a motion, and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For the attendees that are expected to present, please hold until your name is called to present. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. All right. With that, we're ready to go down the agenda. So first is the approval of meeting minutes. I'm sorry, from May 2020.
We do not have meeting minutes available tonight, so have to be postponed till the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then review and approval of bills and expenses. Do we have anything on that?
Sean, did you want me to read that?
Yeah, I don't have them in front of me. My printer wasn't working. I couldn't print
Okay.
it out. I'm out of state, so.
Okay. So for the treasurer's report, we had a telegram ad for $56.24. That was for when we refilled Lake Quinsigamond back in April. The Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association Bacteria Monitoring Program, as discussed at the last meeting, that was $1,000. And then $4,790 was for MassScore for printing the dock plates, and that was 200 plates, and that should last us a couple of years. We also had a refund to the Quinsigamond Rowing Association for the cancellation of all the spring rowing events. That was $3,450. That's it.
Okay. Is there any discussion, questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Through the board? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
Second the
I'm
motion.
going to, go ahead. I'm going to do a roll call because we have to do that. So just going to go down the list. Mr. Piker? Yay or nay? Mike, did we lose you?
Hear me now?
Okay, so we have to do a roll call vote, Mike.
I second the motion in terms of approving the expenses as reported by Angela Snell. Can you hear me?
Yes, I want to know, we got through that part. I just want to know if your vote is yes?
Yes.
Well, no, okay, yes, okay. Captain DeAndre?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Polito?
Yes.
Mr. Nickerson?
Yes.
Ms. Amory, welcome aboard.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
Yes?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Okay, so voted. Perfect. Moving on to commissioners' reports. Some of this will get covered later in the process, but I guess I don't have to tell anyone that, especially one of us who lives on the lake, that the lake has been incredibly busy and active in the last, the last few weeks since we met last. It's everything that I thought it was going to be, and maybe a little bit more. And we've had increased activity. I want to send out kudos to law enforcement. We're going to talk a little bit about that afterwards, but they have done a incredible job. I know that they're working seemingly tirelessly out there, trying to keep everything, as safe as possible for everyone. It's an overwhelming task on days, on hot Saturdays and Sundays, and even it's almost every night now. So thank you very much for stepping up and going, and doing what you're doing out there. And I want to remind anyone who's watching this at home that with the increased activity on the lake, on weekends, on the mornings, on weeknights, and there's every kind of watercraft I'm seeing out there. I want to reach out to people and say, please operate in a safe manner. And it's not just motorboats out there. I'm seeing kayaks and paddle boards and canoes out after dark and not lit. And I can say this, and I've spoken to a few people that I've seen doing that. You after dusk, when it starts to get gray out, even before it gets dark, you are basically invisible to a moving boat. So when a boat's going down, and I don't mean just a moving boat that's going 40 miles an hour, because they shouldn't be doing that at dark anyway. The speed limit at night on Lake Quinsigamond is 20 miles an hour. But more importantly, the speed limit is governed by the conditions of the weather. So if it's foggy, if there's no moon, then the speed limit should go down accordingly, and I mean down to maybe no wake and 6 miles an hour. I want to remind everybody also that under all the bridges that, with the exception of 290, but under the Route 9 bridge, the Route 20 bridge at Flint Pond, that is no wake. There's no wakes going through there. So you need to, everyone needs to kind of slow down in there. But back to the kayaks and the canoes and the paddle boards, please make sure that you are off the lake and very well lit up, after dusk. You really need to make sure you're doing that. And I think people are trying to do it, and they may misjudge the time, because I see people kind of paddling like crazy to get to the boat ramp. Another thing I'm going to say, that if you are on the lake, if somehow you get caught out there for some reason, stay close to the shore. And when I mean close to the shore, I mean like 10 or 15 feet, where normally motorboat traffic will not be present. Not to say that they won't be there, but if it were me and my family, I would definitely do that. And I heard somebody tell me the other night, we're all set, we know what we're doing. Well, it didn't seem like it, because you were in the middle of the lake in between Kings Point and the Route 9 bridge, and it was dark out, and you're in two kayaks. One of the kayaks was actually like a dark color, and the other one was a little bit brighter, but neither one of these people could be seen, more than probably 50 or 60 feet away from them. And if you're traveling in a boat going 20 miles an hour, that's about 2 seconds. So he said, we can hear you coming, so we'll paddle out of the way. Yeah, you don't have that much time to paddle out of the way unless you're like Aquaman. So I'm just going to ask everyone to be careful with that. Another thing I've seen out there a lot is swimmers. Swimmers need to be not more than 50 feet from the shore at any one point, and I mean at the beaches as well. And I haven't seen any lifeguards at the state beaches yet, but there are markers out there. I would encourage anyone swimming not to go past those markers. Boats are not expecting you. We can't see. It's difficult to pick out just someone's head, because again, it's almost invisible, especially if the water's got any kind of wind on it, because the waves can kind of hide you. So be aware of that, and also be aware of your own ability to swim, because it's deep in Lake Quinsigamond, and not to be gruesome, but there are points of the lake that are 50 or 60 feet deep. So if you go under, it's likely going to be a recovery issue, not a rescue. So with that said, for the most part, I'm seeing people are doing well. I was happy for the most part to see people really going slow, taking stock of other boats. There's always a few people that want to zip through things, and maybe they're in a hurry. I don't know, but for the most part, people are really behaving pretty well, and there are a few that aren't, and we should we need to deal with that. And we'll talk about that later on in the program, but that's, I'm happy that people, are at least respecting each other, and everyone's trying to have a good time and be safe. So with that, I'm going to move on. Mr. Pica, do you have a report? Are you with us, Mike?
Chair, can you hear me?
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, fine. Mr. Chairman, my biggest concern is that obviously relative to the times, and if people aren't aware of it, there's been a lot more of the general public that have done things like buy more bicycles, buy pet dogs, but also apparently my understanding is relative to commerce have bought a lot more boats. There is more boating activity from my observation on Lake Quinsigamond. The most specific concern I have, though, at this time is that there are people who are violating rule number 4, that is, no person shall annoy another person with a loud outcry, or using a horn or other device upon the waters of Lake Quinsigamond. There are some boats that are, they seem to have DJ microphones to add shouting comments to the loud, particularly loud amplified music that come from their boats. Frankly, the people I talk with do look upon it as annoying. So that is an issue, Mr. Chair, that has to be addressed. With modern electronics and technology, there are people who are playing music and also using DJ amplification of voices on the boat that can clearly be heard hundreds, if not hundreds of yards away. Let me just bring up the issue that I believe on Lake Winnipesaukee, they may have a decibel level of 80 to 85 decibels, cannot be heard more than 100, 150 feet away. That's on Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire. But it just seems to me that that kind of noise level is of issue currently on Lake Quinsigamond relative to the times, and may need to be addressed in terms of, and if it takes something like the commission buying for the town of Shrewsbury or the environmental police decibel meters so they can do enforcement, I would be even in support of that, because it's getting a little bit out of hand. So other than that, Mr. Chair, the weeds are growing. There's a lot of wildlife. I'm seeing more herons than usual. The eagles are flying about. And again, there's a lot of boating activity relative to the times. People, I think, have looked upon and come upon boating as one of those recreational options that they have when they can't go to the gym. They're also, to use simple English, partying a lot. I mean, the bars aren't open. They can't go to sporting contests and the like. And there's a lot of yahooing going on the waters, which is also almost a separate issue. But, Mr. Chair, I really wanted to bring up those points of concern at this time. I guess that's it for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. Hello?
Sorry.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pica. Is there any discussion, questions, comments about Mike's comments? Again, some of this is going to get discussed in a little while because we're going to scoot down to law enforcement and figure out how we can deal with some of these issues. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. Officer Valieri, do you have a report?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I know you want to discuss law enforcement after. Just a few quick things about staffing and patrolling. I know we didn't have anybody out on the lake this weekend because vacation time, guys out sick, etc. And we also have retirements coming up and other patrolmen being promoted. So it's going to be very difficult filling the boat all summer. As you can already see, we're overwhelmed with the amount of people that are already on the lake as it is. Myself and Kyle are beside ourselves with just the nonsense that's going on out there. So we're going to do our best. I had a lieutenant out there last night riding around with me just to see what kind of things we deal with when we're most of the time alone on the boat, and, safety aspect, coming across a boat with 10 guys on it and you're by yourself. So those are some of the things we're trying to deal with, and going to try and fill the boat as best as we can this summer. And we urge people to call if they have a problem, and call, EPO, call Worcester, Shrewsbury. We can't handle it all of ourselves. We can't take the full burden on ourselves. It's just too much. There is one thing I wanted to bring up as far as I don't know if many of the other members have noticed. There's a 29-foot Baja cigarette boat that we've been dealing with now for probably the past 3 weeks. We've issued multiple citations, multiple verbal warnings, constant problems with that individual. And I want to talk to the board about, see how they felt. I would like to send that party, a letter certified in the mail to no trespassing from today's date through next year. 1 year from today, he's no longer allowed on Lake Quinsigamond. Are we able to do that?
If I can, Mr.
Thanks.
Chair.
Just 1 second, Mr. Pica. To answer your question, I talked with Officer Capalbo also about that type of tool for you guys, and I, for one, am all for it. I was going to bring that up. That was the main thing in the law enforcement part of it. So if you don't mind, we'll skip to that. But I guess we can just talk about that right now, because essentially, we have the rule, as you know, Rule 29 and Rule 30 that gives us the authority to ban someone for up to 12 months. I think that probably the best approach to do that, because what I understand is that you're asking basically for kind of a 3 strikes and you're out rule. And you've given this guy a couple of verbal warnings. You've given him citations, obviously, because I know the exact boat you're talking about. Unless you haven't done this since this weekend, because he was out there, going around this weekend, I think, too. So I think that it's a good idea. I think that it's a good path, and it's a good way to pull, basically to trigger Rule 29 and Rule 30. To my knowledge, I don't think we've ever actually had a hearing and banned someone from the lake.
Yes, we have.
We have done that. Okay, so then that's good. It's not unprecedented that we would do something like that. And I believe that we need to have that kind of a crackdown. So I guess I would. Does anyone have? Any of the other members have comment or questions?
If I can, Mr. Chair, Michael Pica, Vice Chair. A few years ago, there was a cigarette boat, we'll call that, as in terms of the type of boat, that was, I think, 32 feet long. It was being operated on the lake in a manner where it was swamping canoes, running up and down the lake. We consequently made a rule that unless there was a special permit, boats couldn't be put on the lake that are 30 feet and above. This particular boat is, I think, it says right on the side of it, outlaw 29 or 27. So it comes within under the length limit, but frankly, it's the type of boat that to run it involves running it not at low speed. Yeah, I could run it at troll, but the type of boat it is, it's meant to run fast. And frankly, unfortunately, if I had to make a judgment call, I would say it's too big, too dangerous on the lake this season. As I've seen it roaring up and down the lake, it's just an accident waiting to happen in terms of, as he's the operator, he kind of puts himself at risk in terms of, he to run a boat like that, he should be on the Vineyard Sound. He should be, off the Cape somewhere. And frankly, it really crosses the line in terms of the type of boat it is and how it's being used on the lake as being unsafe to himself as well as others. And that's my opinion, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Piker. Is there anyone else that has a comment?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I make a motion?
Leo.
I'd like to
Yes,
make
you
a
may.
I'd like to make a motion that we ban the vote as described by Officer Valier's report for the issue cited, and that term being 1 year from the issuance of the citation or the letter banishing it.
Who's
Okay,
making the motion,
just
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, before we do this, the motion is out of order only because I don't think we can actually have a motion and vote to ban a boat or an operator without a hearing, according to our rules. So within our rules, the motion would be more like a motion to, I think as Officer Valier suggested, is to give him a letter and haul him in for a hearing for for Rule 29 and Rule 30. So to basically to ban both the operator and the vessel. And I would also entertain a motion which may be separate that would a call for maybe a special meeting. I mean, if we have a hearing, it's not going to be, if we do it under a regular meeting, it won't be till next month, which will give this person plenty of time to, to cause more havoc. So that's my comment.
Mr. Chairman, recommend that we put it on the docket for a public hearing motion at the least for next month. I think a letter of education from the police department is also certified, merited at this time to let that operator know the seriousness of our concern.
Okay, so does anyone want to correct or introduce a motion that we can enforce?
So basically, I make a motion to send this person a letter citing the particular rules that he will be banned from the lake and he needs to attend a hearing to so he can be heard based on our rules. I guess I don't, something like that.
Okay. Is
Mr.
that
Chair.
any question?
Mr.
Who
Chair,
said that?
it's Sean.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Officer Valier.
We
Yes.
put in when I send the letter, can I put in the beginning that you are, I know he has to have a hearing a year, within a month, but I'd like to put it in there that he is banned temporarily or have him banned until that hearing, for now. So I would like to I want to keep him off the lake. If I have to deal with him for another 30 days, it's going to be a nightmare. So I want to, at least we'll write it up so that he's banned pending the hearing through the Lake Quinsig Commission. So whether or not he shows up or not, then we still have the full year date.
I do not have a issue with that. That's fine with me. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
My comment, I agree with that because I'd hate to see some delays come up and he'd be loose on the lake for 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, I agree. I mean, the other thing we can have, and I know people are busy in the summer and they don't want to have more meetings, but we could also have a hearing. What do we need for a notice for a hearing, Angela?
If it's like a meeting, you just have to post it within 48 business hours.
To have it, so if I wanted to have a special, if I called a special meeting of the Lake Quinsigamond Commission for this hearing,
Right, you'd
48
have to,
hours?
right, business hours. You
Okay.
have to post it like we do for this meeting. So I mean,
Alright,
you could
so we could
potentially do it.
we could have a meeting for next week and outright ban them. Or I don't have a problem with Mr. Valier's Officer Valier's suggestion. So,
Sean, do you have this operator's address to be able to mail this to?
Yes, I have all of his information. I have his
Okay.
address, name, everything. So it'll go out first thing on Monday, certified.
okay.
Okay.
All right. So before we do that, let's finish the motion. So we have a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, I'm going to poll again. Okay, Mr. Pica.
In favor, aye.
Okay. Officer Valieri.
In favor, aye.
Okay. You can just say yes or aye. Captain DeAndre.
Mr. Chair, I just have a question after that.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes. What would just repeat? Please repeat.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just have a question in regards to that. So if he violates that, are we on firm grounds to, what would happen if he violates that within the next week? So we don't have
You're gonna
a
arrest
hearing
him.
pen- He's,
You're gonna arrest him.
uh,
You can arrest him for trespassing.
do we have the authority?
Yes. Worcester, any law enforcement agency actually that's state authorized has the right to arrest someone on Lake Quinsigamond.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying as far as banning them, we have the authority to ban them pending the hearing.
Yes, we have under Rule 30, 29 and 30, we have a right, the authority to ban someone for up to a year. In this case, we're basically pulling them off pending the hearing. So,
Oh, then that's, I understand after the hearing. Are we able to ban them prior in arrest that's happened prior to the hearing? That's Jim, in regards to arrest passing.
yeah, well, the honest answer, Captain, is I don't recall. I don't know what the precedent is. I don't recall it ever having done it. I mean, to the stage where someone fought it and, they went to court. And they may go to court and they may they may get a court date and the judge may say, well, you can go on the lake, pending the hearing. But by the time he gets a court date and gets all that done, we probably would have already had the hearing. So the hearing would rule. The hearing is solid.
The only
But
concern was
if
prior
there's,
to,
pardon me?
my only concern was prior to, if we were able to ban them prior to the hearing. And if that's the case,
Yeah.
and we're on solid ground, then I don't have, I just don't want my guys arresting someone trespassing and it's solid ground. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, he has to
Yes.
be served that, correct? So there probably is a time frame for him to be served that notice. Correct?
So Sean, is a certified letter
I'll get,
going to?
so I'll send the certified letter out, and when I get the return back, I'll notify the board that I received it back in the mail. If I don't receive it back in the mail, which means he just didn't sign for it or he refused it. So, but he'll have the opportunity to come to that hearing, whether or not he wants to accept the letter. It's up to him, but we'll give him the opportunity to do so.
Okay.
I'll also keep a copy of the certified letter on the boat as well. So if he's out there, I'll serve him in hand.
Sean, is
Okay.
the operator local? Does he live in Worcester County in Massachusetts?
Yeah, see, he lives in Worcester. I don't want to give his name and address.
Fine, good enough. Thank you.
But
course.
yes,
Good enough.
he's a resident.
Okay. Captain DeAndre, did that answer your question?
So we will wait for him to get the certified letter, and then after he receives that, pending that, then he will be arrestable. You're saying he's arrestable if tomorrow he goes on the lake?
After he,
It is
you know,
dropped.
after he gets a letter. I mean, you can't, I'm not gonna, yeah, I don't think we should, if he has no knowledge of it. And, you know,
Well,
and it
with
may
that
not,
said-
I think what the, you know, I think the other thing is that, you know, maybe we don't arrest him if he's on there. You just escort him to the boat, back to the boat ramp and say, see you later. Take your boat and get off. And if he resists that, then you can, you know, you can go from there, I guess. I mean, would that make
Mr.
sense?
Chair,
So,
Mr. Chair, be aware that Sean said he'd send it out first thing Monday morning, which means he won't receive it till Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, which means
right.
he could use his boat this weekend, so to speak.
Well, Officer Valieri also said that he's going to keep a copy of the letter on the boat with him so he can go over there and hand deliver it. He can
Okay.
hand serve them. So if he's out there this weekend, and you know, we may get our wish. Maybe he's off to Martha's Vineyard. So that's great. But whatever, you know, he still should be served and understand that he's, you know, he's not welcome on the lake. You know, this isn't to kind of qualify this, and I hope everyone's in agreement. This is not something I want to do. You know, this is not something that I feel good about or powerful about or anything like that. It's kind of, you know, it's unfortunate that you know, we have to take it to this level. And I don't think he's the only one out there causing issues. So I do believe that, you know, there's a common attitude with some people that, you know, they basically can do whatever they want out there, and it's like driving in a parking lot. So, and that there's no repercussions for them. And you know, I think that we need to, for the sake of everyone's safety on this pond, because of its shape, because of its location, because of its access, that we are diligent. And I appreciate the you know, Shrewsbury PD for coming forward with this, you know, with this request to have those tools to be able to do this. So this is a step in the right direction, I think, for us. But, you know, it really gives me no pleasure to have to do it. I'd rather not have to do it.
Mr. Chair, it's Sean again.
Yes.
So real quick, I wanted to just tell the captain from Worcester, Cap, we're not looking to arrest anybody. This is pretty much, it's the last resort. We have that tool in our hands that if he continues to become a problem on the lake, that we can, that's our last resort, and we can go to that if he continues to give us a problem. Most likely, if he does violate that trespass order, we'll cite him again and probably tow his boat. And if he continues to come out, at least we have that in our back pocket for future, if in fact he does become a problem.
Yeah, I don't want to be misunderstood. I mean, I totally agree with somebody that's not obeying the laws, and we need to take action. I just want to make sure that if the order is out there that this guy's trespassing and my guys lock him up, that we're on the firm ground to be able to do that. That's all I'm asking for. So again, I agree 100%. I mean, someone that's not obeying the citations, more drastic action needs to be taking place. And believe me, I'm all on board with that. But again, if I'm going back to my guys telling them to do a certain thing, I just want to make sure they're on firm ground to be able to take whatever action I'm telling them to take. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll make sure you know when they're when he's been served as well.
Perfect.
Okay, and Captain, I want to kind of reiterate, because obviously in law enforcement, I'm kind of a layman. So and Sean refuses to deputize me. So you know, maybe arrest was a strong term. You can just go arrest him. You know, because there's other things you can do before you get to that point, like you know, guide him back to the boat ramp and tow his boat. So so I don't want to put anybody's guys into an you know, on solid ground on this stuff, and I don't want to do it for the commission as well. So I think that
deal with it all the time. I mean, we deal with people that, you know, you try to guide them back to the ramp and they're not going to obey you, or you tell them to go back to the ramp, they're not going to obey you. So, you know, it's at what are we able to do if they refuse to do that? And like I said, I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm making sure my guys are good in regards to whatever action we're taking that they're on good solid ground to be able to do whatever action I'm advising them to take. So, yeah,
okay.
there's always definitely different ways to do it. But again, I tell you, they may tell you that they're not going to go by those other rules. So, I just want to make sure that if they're aware of what they can and can't do, really. So I just want to make sure they're all have to take more drastic action if he continues not to refuse or refuses to obey what we're asking him or telling him to do. That they're on solid grounds doing whatever we need to do. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Chair,
All right.
this is
Yes.
Bill. Can I have a follow-up question on what the captain was saying? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Reading Rule 29 and 30, it seems to me that they definitely say the hearing has to come before we can ban them. So I
Yes.
got a question as to if we really can't ban them till after the hearing, what will the letter say in terms of asking them off the lake? And do we really have the authority to do anything before the hearing?
I think what Rule 29 and 30 say that we can't ban them. You know, we can't. Rule 29 and 30 talk about banning someone for up to 12 months or 12 months. I think it is. I don't know if it's up to 12 months. And
1 year. Mr. Chair.
1 year. Okay. So you know, that won't be happening until then. But I think that you know, my understanding of Mass state law is that well, one thing, there's also a rule in the Lake Commission rules that say that they can be arrested, that someone can be arrested for any offense on Lake Quinsigamond. So if you're breaking the rules, the speed limit rules, the no wake rules, and part of our rules on Lake Quinsigamond, you know, it's not just so this is not a misnomer for people. Our rules encompass Mass state law for boating. All the boating laws are encompassed in our rules. I think that's the first rule, that everyone has to obey the Mass boating laws, and I believe the Coast Guard rules as well. So, you know, if they come back and say, well, there's not any rules that you know, I have to have my lights on at night, or I'm responsible for the damage my wake does, then that doesn't, you know, it falls under they have to follow the Mass state boating laws too. So, and it does say in our rules that that they can be arrested for violation of any of the rules on the lake. So, you know, we have that going on, and you know, we can I guess the officers can say, look, you can choose to ignore us, and you can choose not to do what we ask and leave the lake, or, you know, for whatever you're stopping them for, you can just get rid of them. The other thing we can do, if it makes more sense, at least, and again, we have an acute problem. We have two issues here. We have an acute problem that we have a boater that's causing these issues, and you know, if Sean's telling me right now that this guy deserves to be taken off the lake for everyone's safety, then, you know, I'm going to believe him. If you know, the other part of the question is, you know, do we amend Rule 29 and Rule 30 to say that you know, pending a hearing, their rights to use the lake are suspended until we have the hearing. You know, but, and I don't know if it falls under, maybe we need a review with the legal teams and the police, I guess, to see if that's if the right for them to arrest anyone breaking any of the rules on Lake Quinsigamond, you know, is arrestable. Can we make it stick? I know that was a lot. Did everyone?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, if I can, Michael Pike here, I just want to make the commission aware of rule number 5. No person shall operate any boat or any other vehicle of any type at a speed greater than 40 miles per hour or a safe and reasonable speed depending upon existing conditions. I think what Sean and Tony is, this guy, he might be going over 40. I would doubt it. again, the boat's made to go fast, but he's not operating it at a safe and reasonable speed, depending on the conditions of Saturday and Sunday on Lake Quinsigamond, where there's a boat that's virtually every 150 or 200 feet. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Bill again. Yes.
Yeah.
Particularly looking at Rule 5 for any safe and reasonable speed, depending on the existing conditions, as well as Rule 1, must obey all statutory laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I think those two would give the law enforcement the power, at least this weekend before the hearing, to handle him if he's continuing to act like he has.
Okay. So we got some questions mixed in with the vote. So if you don't mind, I'm going, does any more questions or comments?
So, Mr. Chair, should we
Yes.
make a motion, or should we talk about making a motion to have a special meeting next week after he's served to have his meeting, as soon as possible, basically? Can we do that? Or can we, can we
Well,
make a special meeting?
Before we do that, let's at least get through this vote that we're gonna serve him at all. Because that's where we are right now. Yes, we never finished the vote. That's my concern. I just want to get that done. Is that okay? Just some procedural issues. So I'm going to start from the top again. Mr. Pica?
In favor of serving the letter, Mr. Chair, if that's the question.
Officer Valieri?
Yes.
Captain DeAndre?
Yes.
Mr. Polito?
Yes.
Mr. Nickerson?
Yes.
Miss Amory?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
And myself is also a yes, so that's unanimous, so voted. Okay, does someone want to make a motion to have a special hearing next week?
This is Bill.
Well, it wouldn't be till after we got served, so.
Mr. Chair, I've got a quick question.
Yes.
Could this meeting be virtual, or since this is different, does it have to be?
Oh, you know what? That's actually a good question. Angela? Do we have a virtual hearing?
You can have a virtual hearing. I think there's just some different language that we post in the meeting agenda, but
Yeah,
we can.
okay.
Because they can call in or be in the video just like any of the members can.
Okay.
I know the board had virtual hearings, so I don't see why we couldn't.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Mr. Nelson?
Mr.
Yes.
Chair,
Yes,
I have the question, if the person doesn't show up for the virtual hearing, what then?
but we still vote. I mean, he doesn't defend himself. That, you know,
I see, okay.
you know, we talk about the issue, we talk about the problem. If the person has the opportunity to come in there and defend himself and to speak on his own behalf, that's fine. If they decide not to do that, to ignore it, then, you know, we execute, you know, we do what we do. So,
Okay, got it.
okay.
That works for me.
Okay. So is there a motion to have a hearing, a special hearing, or a meeting, or a special meeting for a hearing involving this matter?
Mr. Chair, this is Bill again, but with another question first. Do we have a rough idea how long it'll take for this letter to go out, how long he has to respond? So we have an idea whether or not this hearing will be late next week or the following week?
Well, you know,
It takes about 2 days to receive a letter, probably 2 days to return So we probably wouldn't get anything back till next Thursday or Friday on average, Mr. Chair, relative to how the U.S. Postal Service works.
And this meeting could could fall right in the holiday, right in the fourth holiday. So I know it's going to be a burden, and I don't want to have I don't want to call a special meeting that we're not going to have a quorum. So, because that's going to look silly.
What about doing it like the week of July 10th, a Wednesday? Seems like most people can attend Wednesdays. That gives you a week to get the notice out, publish the meeting. You can include the date in the letter.
You're saying the 8th, Angela? What's the 8th?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the 8th.
Is the 8th?
Yes, we could generalize that and just say from the 6th to the week of the 6th to the 10th, aiming for Wednesday, but that gives us the availability that we have the whole week.
Oh, for the motion?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We have to be firm when we post what we're going to do, but is that acceptable, Angela?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion that we have a special hearing on this subject the week of July 6th to 10th, depending upon the receipt of the letter to the individual.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. I'm going to poll the board. Mr. Pica,
In favor, aye.
Officer Valieri,
Aye.
Captain DeAndre,
Yes.
Mr. Polito,
Yes.
Mr. Nickerson,
Yes.
Ms. Emery,
yes.
and Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Okay. I also vote yes. So it's unanimous. So voted. Thank you. All right. We got that, and we were in the a midst of our reports here. Captain DeAndre, do you have a report?
Yes, I'll just add on what the officer from Shrewsbury said. My lieutenant's in Shrewsbury as well as the environmental, and we try to step up when we understand that everybody's shorthanded. So when they are short, we try to put the vessel out in the water. So we'll continue to do the best we can with that. We already committed to Thursday and Friday as an absolute, and we will step up whenever other necessary.
Okay. I saw the Worcester boat out. But are those always is that always law enforcement in the boat, or is it sometimes the rescue crew in there?
We share the boat
Like
with the fire. At some point, you may see fire department on there when they're doing their trainings and stuff like that. But I don't.
I've seen them out there. It's hard to tell, kind of zipping by who they are. So,
But we
okay.
are up. So.
All right.
Captain,
Thank
if I
you.
could get Michael Pica here, Saturday and Sunday are definitely the busiest days in terms of a need 7 days a week. Saturday and Sundays are the days. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Polito. Mr. Pica. Mr. Polito, do you have a report?
Yeah, a couple observations. Like to thank as you said, the enforcement ongoing on the lake. I think it's been a tremendous help up from years past. One other question I have is the buoy at Lake Park in front of the swimming area has been moved. Do you have any idea where that went or why?
My understanding is that it got away. There was a buoy that ended up across. It's actually at Quinsigamond Shores right now. It's tied to the dock. They tied it up to the dock. So as far as I know, it's still there. And I told the resident there that someone would be by to collect it and to bring it back to, in this case, Lake Park, and put it back out there, because that buoy, if there's no other buoy on the lake that's needed out there, it's that one, because you know, it's
Mr.
dangerous,
Chair.
physically dangerous for the boats. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair,
Red
I
Officer
have
Elliott.
I have the Lake Park buoy at the boathouse. It broke free, and I need to
Okay.
repair it and put it back out. It'll be out there. It'll be out there by Friday.
Is that the buoy that that was at Quinsigamond Shores, or was that yet another buoy?
That was the one that broke free from Lake Park.
Right.
And somebody put it in front of our boathouse. So I do have that one. The one at Quincy
Okay.
Shores, I'm not sure about, but I know everything else
Okay.
is still in place. I check it daily.
Well, I'll go by Quinsigamond Shores and see if it's still there. Maybe someone took it from there and put it in front of the boathouse, which is probably what we should tell people to do when they come up there, is to tow them over if they can, to put them in front of the boathouse and secure them. Because another one got free from Maduka's, that little sandbar that comes out in front of their place, also very dangerous, and but it ended up back there. So there should be a buoy there, or there was last time I looked. So, but if anyone's out, you know, that's watching this, if a buoy does, you know, if you come across a buoy, or it ends up, you know, on your shoreline or on your dock or something, please notify us that it happened, and then if you have the ability, you can tow it over. Is that what they should do, Sean? Bring it over to the boathouse?
Yeah, or that's the best way. That way I can just retrieve them.
Okay. Is there a place, an obvious
or
place where they could tie up over there and secure it?
they probably just, you know, put it right on the ramp, the boat ramp right there, if they can lean it right on there.
Okay, so if you could do that, you know, bring it back over to the Shrewsbury Boathouse there, where they keep the police boat, and kind of push it up on shore and drag it in. So that would be very helpful. All right. Anything else, Mr.
Yeah.
Polito?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask, maybe if this board would send a letter to the Shrewsbury Selectmen, asking the selectmen to send a letter to the appropriate state agency who control the two boat ramps, one at Route 20 and one at the Corazini area, to request that the town take over full-time management of those two ramps.
Okay, well, I think we actually do manage that full-time. Is that correct, Angela? We don't, are you asking for us to manage it, or to take over ownership of it?
Ownership and control.
Okay. Is there any discussion? I believe the control now is DCR. Is that correct, Angela?
So the two boat ramps are they're state owned by Fishing and Boating Access, and then the town of
Okay.
Shrewsbury does them locally.
Okay, so we manage it and run it, we'll say, and Fish and Wildlife own it.
Correct.
Those are their ramps.
Correct.
Okay. So, and we would do this to I'm not, why do you want to do this, I guess, is
Why?
Yeah.
I think to better manage what is going on, not to limit people from using the lake, but to better manage what's going on, at those ramps and, on the lake.
Okay.
I think we're limited,
Um,
by what we can do.
all right.
I mean,
I
it's just to the selectmen, requesting them to inquire with the appropriate state agency, if it's a possibility. I'm sure there are a lot of things they would have to look at.
Yeah.
It would get the ball rolling, and, I mean, it doesn't hurt.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment on this?
Yes.
I'm not sure of my memory here, but my understanding of one of the main reasons originally that Fish and Wildlife was given ownership of the various boat ramps on the lakes in Massachusetts was that they argued they wanted to ensure that any resident of Massachusetts could use any lake on any town, and the town would not be able to exclude non-residents of the town. So it seems like we're asking something that goes against, if my memory is correct, their philosophy of why they own the boat ramps. This might be a dead end.
Okay. That's a fair point. But what Ken just said, though, I don't think, because it's not really about limiting any access. Is that correct?
Correct.
We're not asking to limit access.
No,
I mean, beyond the rules and Rule 20 and 29 and 30, you know, if anyone should bump up against that. But, you know, we're not looking to say, oh, you're not from Shrewsbury or Worcester or Grafton, you can't come in.
I understand that. It's my statement though was that the Fish and Game was afraid that that might come up sometime, and that's the reason why they argued for their ownership.
Right, and I know that it comes up when it comes to fees. They rear up when, you know, you try to raise the fees, and they want control over that. So, but is there, you know, from a management standpoint, right now, the ramps, there's no, all it is concrete at the Flint Pond boat ramp. At Corzini, there's an additional dock there. Is that correct? Who owns that dock? Is that the town, or is that Fish and Wildlife, or the state?
The state renovated, put in a new dock, I don't know, 10 years ago. So,
Okay.
you know, designed it and paid for the capital improvement project for that.
Yes.
You know, we take it in and out in the winter. So I'm
Okay.
not sure.
So they physically own it.
Yes.
Okay. You just again, you manage it. Do you maintain it, Angela? Do you know, put new decking on it, or fix a bolt that's broken, or do you do any kind of maintenance, or is that all the state comes back and does all that?
No, I mean, if there's minor repairs, the Parks Department is doing that.
Okay.
You know, we take cash. We have an attendant on the weekends. We're emptying the trash in the parking lot, that kind of stuff. Mow the grass.
Okay, and to compensate the Parks and Rec or the town of Shrewsbury's efforts there, all the fees that we collect at the boat ramp right now that's 100% goes to back to the town. So to pay for you guys. Is that self-sustaining, or are you guys upside down?
No, it pays for the expenses, because that's how you set the rate, is whatever your expenses are. You know, you can't charge a higher rate that's not gonna, you know, if your expenses are X, you can't charge more than that.
And that's,
You know, you
per
can't make a
mass
profit.
access?
You have to cover your expenses. Right.
Okay.
So according to them, we're one of the highest, we have the highest fee of $10 because most of them are in the $5 to $7 range for a state boat ramp, not a private one. There are other ones that are not run by the state that might be higher,
Right.
but for that,
Okay, so our fee right now is $10. And right now that's covering your costs, right? You can say that.
yes,
It's covering the cost of the physical maintenance of the ramp itself. Whatever you guys are doing, sweeping the parking lot, cleaning the outhouse, and uh, is there an attendant there?
on the weekends, we just started last weekend through Labor Day.
Okay, so on the weekends there's an attendant and they collect the money. Is that what they
Correct.
collect money from? Okay, so they're collecting cash, and there's
Yeah.
only one person on a shift.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I guess what I'm asking is that's covering your costs. So you're not saying you need, you have, I mean, do we need more personnel down there if we added someone during the week? Or is there anything to say we can't charge it the week? And the second question would be, is there anything to say we can't charge at at the Flint Pond one? We have
I
to
mean,
go back to wildlife and say, hey, we
Yeah.
want to charge here too.
Right. I think we could possibly expand, I'd have to weigh the options of having staff during the week. This year is an extraordinary year. I don't know if every year we'd have enough funding to pay for someone during the week. Then Oak Island, we could look at what our expenses would be and, charge, or we could maybe look at getting a machine, like the parking machines that you see at some other locations, like state parks, where you pay a ticket, and you put it on your dashboard, we could see about that. So, I mean,
Okay.
things.
I like that idea. It's like the train station. When you park at the train station. Okay. So and because it's Parks and Rec, and we're fortunate enough to have you on here. What's the downside for you guys? Is there a downside there? Would you like to own Corzini
Well,
and Flint Pond? We already own Oak Island, right? That's already ours.
Right. I mean, I guess, does that mean that we have to purchase it from the state? Because that's like a huge, like the boat is assessed at $800,000. So does that mean we'd have to buy it from the state to take it over? Or I guess I don't know what the advantage would be for us owning it, because then we'd own all the capital improvement projects. We're a small department, so I don't want to take more burden than I have the staff to manage.
Of course.
Well, my point was just to send a letter to the selectmen asking the appropriate state agency what the process would be and if it's possible.
Okay. I don't have a problem with doing that part of it.
Merits to look at. That's all.
They may come back and say, hey, you can have it for $1. Good riddance.
They very well may.
And we'll pay for docks from now until eternity. All right. So is there any discussion or questions about that from anyone?
This is Bill again, just one comment.
Yeah.
My understanding from the Department of Fish and Game's viewpoint, if any of those boat ramps were funded through the license fees for fishing and hunting licenses in Massachusetts, they would have a huge legal problem in selling it to us, independent of whether it was too expensive for us.
All right. Fair point again. Any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion, we send a letter to the selectmen requesting that the selectmen contact the appropriate state agency who manages 2 boat ramps on Lake Quinsigamond to see if it's feasible to transfer full ownership and management to the town of Shrewsbury.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. So I'll poll the members. Mr. Pica,
In favor, aye.
Officer Valieri,
Aye.
Captain DeAndre,
Aye.
Mr. Polito,
Aye.
Mr. Nickerson,
Aye.
Miss Amory,
Aye.
Mr. Nelson.
Aye.
Okay, I vote yes as well. So voted. Okay, so we'll get the letter out to the selectmen and see what happens. Okay. So, Mr. Nickerson, do you have a report?
I do not have a report.
Okay, thank you. Miss Amory?
I do not have a report.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson?
Just one subject. The Quinsigamond Rowing Club has started rowing singles only, except the doubles if they're both people in the double belong to the same family. A couple of weeks ago, they started to let singles row if the person owned the boat. In the last week, they've now let club members use club boats. There's a rather intensive program of disinfecting the boats and the oars both before and after they're used. Only 2 people can be in the boathouse at a time. 1 person on the north dock, 1 person on the south dock. They have to have masks on at all times until they're out in the water and a certain distance from the dock. So rowing has started at a smaller scale, but according to state regulations for not having members in a boat that don't belong to the same family, it's looking unlikely that 4s or 8s will be out this summer.
Okay. All right. So, and it's going well? You guys out in the morning? It's been some beautiful mornings.
Well, with the usual exception, there are some of the older members who aren't sure that they really want to row on a boat that's used by multiple people, no matter how hard it's disinfected.
Okay. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Thank you. And I guess that's it for reports. We can move on to the budget, and the news there. This is going to kind of preference some of the things downstream from this. Pardon the pun, but we have money right now for I believe for the weed treatment we would need to do. We don't know what our budget is going to be from the town of Shrewsbury, the town of Grafton, or the city of Worcester. I will say that, and I don't know if I brought this up last time or not, but we did get money from Worcester to participate in our weed the weed program. So that's a new thing. It's a great thing. So I wanted to thank the city and all of our members from the city that helped make that happen. And so we'll have more on that as we move along. On the lake management plan, invasive weed treatments, the weeds that we can treat, which are south of Route 20, we did a good, last year we used a combination of clipper and diquat to treat the Eurasian milfoil and the fanwood. And I can tell you over here, because it's right in front of my house, that it actually was very effective. And for times that we have treated, I think it's been the most effective that we've done. So that's good. We do probably need a maintenance dose over here, but not a full dose that we did last year. So that's what we want. But we need to move on because we're having serious weed problems in other parts of the lake, and I'm concerned, especially at Half Moon Cove. There's also a big crop of it in, I don't know what the name of that cove is over there by Old Faith Road, but there's a big crop of it over there that we need to deal with as well. So because of the habitat for the endangered species that we have over there, that's in this case is Vasii, that we're really, the natural heritage is basically not allowed us to do that, and that's part of our permit that we can only treat in this area south of Route 20, which we're doing. But I firmly believe that we're going to need to treat in Half Moon Cove and as soon as possible because it's going to create a choke point. If Half Moon, it's the natural flow of Lake Quinsigamond to flow into Half Moon, flow through Half Moon, under Route 20, and into Flint Pond. And the crop of milfoil over there right now is getting to the point where all of this flow has to be filtered through this dense forest of Eurasian milfoil in there that did not exist, at least to this extent, or nowhere near this extent. Not more than 6 years ago. I don't remember it being close to this, and maybe a plant here or there. My firm belief is some people have talked that it's flowing opposite direction, that the lake is flowing north and they're coming in from Flint Pond. I believe that these invasives were brought over by ourselves. I think that probably boat props have brought them over. Anyone who's visited Flint Pond, and I know that there's boats over there that do so regularly. They're bringing the stuff back, and birds can do it, all kinds of reasons. So what my plan is, and Vasii is from a plant family, and I'm not a scientist, so if Barbara and Gia and Jackie are probably snickering in the background as I stumble through this, but they're part of a plant family called a Poto Megan, and there's other types of plants that are the same family as that. Curly pondweed, for example, and some things that we have here, that the large pond leaf, and there's all the pondweeds. All the pondweeds are basically of that same variety of plant. The reason I'm bringing that up is that what I'm proposing, and we've heard this before, but what I'm proposing is the blossom life for the Vasii is happening in the next few weeks. So it's down there, it's present. I'd like to hire a scientist, a diver, to go down there and to do a survey and to pick all of that plant variety, not just the if they happen to come up with Vasii, that's good. But I want to test everything down there because I want to make sure we know exactly what we're dealing with at these habitat spots that have been identified by natural heritage. So I want to make sure that we're dealing with what we think we're dealing with here, and go from there. So I want to go down there, collect the plants, and do DNA tests on the plants, not just identify them by sight. I want to actually do a DNA test to make sure that that's exactly what it is supposed to be, because they kind of other ones can look the same as the ones we're as Vasii. Obviously, curly pondweed does not look the same as Vasii, and curly pondweed basically is gone now anyway, because it's that thing runs from April through May and stuff. It's really kind of come and gone at this point. But the other thing is if we determine that if there is no Vasii down there, these habitats don't exist the way we thought that they did, we go back to natural heritage and we say, this is what we found, and try to go back to these guys and have them lift restrictions that we're treating. That's one. Second prong of this is that we're going to look at treating other of this plant family with a chemical, and I get the name written down here. It's and I'm stumbling over this I don't know, maybe Jacqueline, if you're on the board, maybe you can help me out and it's a new chemical that just got approved. So the potamogetans, which is what the Vaceae family is, and Prochylicore. So Prochylicore was not available when we went for our initial permits, but those studies of the plant, or all these chemicals have a list of plants that they are effective on, so you know which ones they are. I'm going to tell you an interesting story about Vaceae in a second, but according to what the literature we see on Prochylicore, that they don't have much effect on potamogetans. So the potamogetan plant, like pondweeds and stuff like that, they don't have much of effect on those things, which would include Vaceae. So the theory would be that if we were to test Prochylicore next year, when or maybe even this year, if we can find one of the pondweeds that are actually active and going right now, then we can basically use that as evidence to say, well, this particular chemical treatment it does not appear to affect the potamogetans, but it does affect Eurasian milfoil and fanwort. Although I think there's more. I'm more concerned with Eurasian milfoil and half moon and Old Faith than I am and fanwort at this point. So that's the second prong step on that, and we need to kind of move forward to get that going. And I'm going to ask this question to our members from the conservation commissions, that I would like to. I don't want to go like to a whole new permit to add this a whole new permit process. I'd like to go for an amendment of the list of chemicals that we can use on there. We have a whole list of chemicals. I'd like to add this chemical on as an amendment, which I believe you can do. But I think that's different with every community. So I'm not sure how Worcester Conservation looks at that, or Grafton Conservation looks at that, or Shrewsbury Conservation looks at that. So that's the question I'm going to put out is are we allowed to do an amendment to our existing list of acceptable treatments or approved treatments? So, someone want to, Mr. Polito?
We had a discussion about last night about amending orders of conditions, and I think it could be an issue
Okay.
because you're not giving people a chance to comment on the change.
Okay.
But I'll check again, but I think that's worth seeing.
Okay. I mean, but basically it's treating weeds. It's basically, I don't know if anyone's going to be that technical to find out, oh, you're putting this chemical on there, we don't like that. I don't know. I mean, and maybe they will be.
I think the issue is the public doesn't have a chance to comment, even though it's not a big issue.
Right. And that's fair.
We would,
Go ahead. Sorry, Ms. Emery.
We would need to pass it by staff, and then it would need to go onto our agenda, which we meet maybe every 3 to 4 weeks. So I could get a comment from staff giving an opinion and then pass that on to you.
I'd
But,
appreciate that. And Ken, just to kind of,
I could do.
okay, Amanda, thank you. Well, Amanda actually kind of brought something to mind with this, is that I'm not proposing that we don't have that we don't go through the hearing process with the to amend our order of conditions without a hearing, without public comment. I'm asking, do we need to go for a whole other permit process because that entails hydrology studies and all this other stuff, that because the basic line is we're just adding this onto as a tool, as another thing that we're going to do, because to treat the weeds, we've already been approved to do that, and the drawdown.
I agree. I'll ask
So
Brad.
I don't. So yeah, I'm not saying that we
Sure.
through paperwork. Yes, Amanda.
I think that it would be a matter of putting it before the commission members to determine if they think of it as a major and significant change or
Okay.
a modest change.
So
And
we
it would be
start
up to
there.
the commission members to make that determination.
Okay. Does that make sense, Ken?
It does. For example, we had a person come to the board last night with a house, and the house was approved, the yard was approved. Well, he came back again, he wanted to add a deck. Well, the deck wasn't on the original plan, so there was perhaps an issue with that. I know it doesn't seem like much, but if it's not shown and it was not listed when we had the initial hearing, it could be a problem. So I'll ask, and we'll.
Okay. I appreciate it. Mr. Nickerson.
Yes.
Thoughts? Are you a representative for the Grafton Concom?
I am, yeah. I'm
Okay.
new. I started during when COVID was starting, so.
Okay, so yeah, I guess that the question is, would you be willing to ask your board if what kind of process they'd want to do that?
Yeah.
Or if that would make sense, that would you because we're looking to add that tool into our tool bag.
Yeah. So basically, it would be the process of adding a chemical to this.
Yeah, we're
listing.
amending the orders of condition, through hearing and everything, so everyone has a chance to kind of comment on it. But all we really want to do is add this one thing on there. The actual activity, which would be treating the invasive species, the plant species in the lake, is the exact same. We're just adding a new tool that wasn't approved when we got our initial approvals.
Yeah, I can check it out.
Okay. Is that okay? Good.
The process is there, but I'm sure I can get some information and come back to you folks with it. So.
Okay. Does anyone have questions regarding the plan to kind of attack the ACI?
Now, I have a comment, Mr. Chair. Michael Piker here.
Yep.
If I'm going to try to be succinct. Human beings want to recreate on Lake Quinsigamond. I feel quite comfortable in saying that's probably the majority sense I get, especially this year. And you're always going to have outliers. You're going to have some people that would say, get rid of all weeds. You'd have people say, well, lakes naturally eutrophy, and you should let Mother Nature take its course. Well, if we did that, the lake would, weed up and we wouldn't be able to use it at all. And frankly, I don't think the vast majority of people want that. I think they want the lake to be able to swim, paddleboard, canoe, kayak, motorboat, sail, fish, say what you will. And I, think that we have to take some initiative to maintain it, because otherwise, if we don't take care of it, it will, happen. It'll happen that weeds will continue to grow. It will choke the lake. And yes, I have to let you know, as I live at the gap to the Half Moon Cove, that's a vital flowage point, one of only two for the lake to drain into, down towards the Irish Dam. So, I mean, it's really important to keep the flow of the lake up, or otherwise it's going to eutrophy, and we will not have a lake to recreate in. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Piker. My feeling is that and I don't want to, if there's a habitat that belongs in Lake Quinsigamond, is indigenous to Lake Quinsigamond, I don't want to, and it's endangered, then I'm concerned about that, and I don't want to wreck anything. I don't want to. I'm not here to harm. That said, which is exactly the reason I want to be able to I don't want to throw out the baby the baby with the bathwater also. So what I don't want to do, because the other thing you have to remember about the invasives that we have in the pond is that they're going to grow in exclusion to anything else. So eventually, the invasives will actually kill the endangered species. So it won't be anything the humans do. I do want to do some corrections to what the humans have done to this pond. And bear in mind, yeah, we are this great pond, but we're a pond that's been active and densely developed, with spanned by 3 highways, and we've been like that for 200 years. So I'm trying to mitigate some of the issues that man created. So my goal is to have a healthy, thriving pond. I don't want a swimming pool. I don't want chlorinated 6-mile body of water. I want something that's natural, that the fish are swimming in, and I'd love to see the trout come back and be and hold over. Then that's probably a pipe dream at this point. But I'd love to see the streams coming in all clear and protect our aquifers, and that's really the goal from my perspective. So that's what I want to see on the lake, and that's the motivation behind all of this. I'm not just trying to do it so I can swim better in front of my dock. Afternoon's not in front of my dock, but that's not the goal. Really, the goal is to keep a healthy lake, and I believe we need to keep the flow up. And there's other things we need to do over there to help and flow on that side of the lake, that area. So,
Mr. Chair,
that's not the only thing. But
if I can add, if you have some divers, I'd be willing to make a motion to approve the money for divers, if you have them, to so investigate the species of weed in the Half Moon Cove, and so we can move this issue then along.
Okay.
Period.
I guess we need an amount. I don't have a particular proposal yet. I think the last time we sent Dr. Pageant down there, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong in this, it was like $5,000 to do that. So, and that came with a report. This is going to come with samples, and then we need to test them. So
I guess there needs to be an
Mr. Chair.
investigation. Who would do it for how much, and then have the commission talk about that then later.
Okay. Angela, were you going to say, someone going to say something? I'm sorry. Oh, Amory?
Yes.
Amanda? Yeah.
Yes. So the commission meeting, the Conservation Commission meetings, next meeting is June 29th. So I would need to find out whether or not we could get that on our agenda, if there's enough lead time for it to be advertised.
Okay.
So I will
Well,
try to handle all of that tomorrow.
Okay. There's really a two-pronged attack on that. The funding for going out there and picking samples of the Potamegagetans is separate from approving Procyllicor to do the treatment. So there's two different things. So that is going to have to go on the Concom. The additional chemical treatment, the additional tool will have to go on the Concom. Going down and pulling samples, I think that's within our purview to do that now. So,
Mr. Chair,
that's good.
I also have a comment. Yes,
Yes.
I think we should separate these. I would like to see us move ahead as fast as we can on getting samples and having DNA tested, and not have that held up by having to wait for the 3 Comcoms to finish what they need to do to find out if we can go ahead on the second aspect.
Okay, agreed.
I
All right.
concur.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to is there a motion to approve the hiring someone to go down and collect samples for us?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make
And, pardon me?
So we show such initiative, but I believe we, as a commission, have a responsibility to find out how much it would cost, well, who would do
Okay.
it when, you know.
Okay.
Mr. Piker just said what I wanted to say.
Okay. So we need to we'll come back with with at least a ballpark figure of what's going to cost us. We backed up by a proposal, not something we make up. Okay. I'm good. And all right, so I guess we don't need to vote. And we're already going to investigate what it's going to take us to get approval and amend our order for conditions. So I don't think we need to vote on that either. Okay. So on to the next part, which is discuss law enforcement on the water. I'm open to all ideas that we have here about how we go about doing that and what's the best way to do it and how we can help the team out there that have to do all this stuff. I understand our each community's budget issues, and I understand how we have vacations and promotions and sick and that and I understand some of the union issues. I don't pretend to be an expert in any of that stuff, but Lake Quinsigamond has proven, especially on the Shrewsbury side of things, has proven not just Shrewsbury and the part of the water that's in Shrewsbury. I'm talking about us as law enforcement. That a lot of the burden has been put on us in the last few years to do this, and of course the environmental police and Worcester's. It's great that effort's stepping up again. Worcester was crucial before, and I think their help is always welcome. My observation, though, again, from talking about Mr. Piker's noise complaint, from the side of Shrewsbury, if 5 cars pull down into Dean Park in Shrewsbury, and 30 or 40 people got out of those cars, and they set up a bar at the on the back of one of the cars if it was a station wagon, and they cranked their music up as loud as they could. I'm going to ask, how long do you think they'd be down there before 4 or 5 cruisers would be surrounding them? And it's probably going to be like 5 minutes or 10 minutes for that to happen. But that happens like every warm night on Lake Quinsigamond in front of someone's house. That's going on. And boats are overloaded. So with the resources that we have right now, we're doing a fantastic job getting this down there. What I'm asking for, what I'm trying to poll everybody on is creative thinking of how we can get more resources, how we can help the law enforcement and Shrewsbury, Worcester, Grafton, if they want to get involved in this, and the environmental police. How we can, is there a way that we can try to help fund it? Is there a way that we can offer tools or help them? Even this weekend, I mean, these guys had to get pulled off of the lake duty, lake patrol, because they need people in cruisers on the road, and that takes precedent. So the SOP there is to pull them off the lake and put them on the road. That's what they have to do, and that's great. Except that there's I don't know any place in Shrewsbury. Worcester's probably a different story, but I don't know any place in Shrewsbury that was more dangerous than Lake Quinsigamond this weekend. And so I just want to figure out, is there a way we can do this, because this is a systemic problem. It's not an acute problem. It's not like, oh, it just happened last weekend. This has been going on, and we need to give these guys as much help and support as we can. So if there's something we can do on our side to help these guys out, maybe Sean, you can give us some guidance on, who we got to call to ask for help and what would be best to do it. I'm willing to entertain anything we can to do to figure that out. But the stuff I saw this weekend during the day and at night, was just outrageous. And I'm going to say this too, that I've not always, it's not like I've never, bent a rule here or there on Lake Quinsigamond and done things I, probably shouldn't have done. But, some of this stuff was just blatant. And some of it, like, there's no way, one officer in a boat, or maybe even two officers in a boat, in one boat, can approach a flotilla with 30 or 40 people on it, especially after they've been drinking all night, or day and night, in one case, and and safely address that. It's crazy. Saturday afternoon, I texted law enforcement in there, and I waited. I was sitting in front of a home, and there was a little concert going on, and we were looking out, and a pontoon boat. And Sean don't know who I'm talking about, because they're always out there and they're always overloaded. But I said, okay, I'm not going to do anything until the pontoon goes under the water. And when the pontoon goes under the water, I'm going to call. And sure enough, the thing goes under. And I don't mean it just dipped under. I mean it went under and stayed under. So and it was listing to the starboard. And there literally was a full bar at the end of this thing. At the back of this pontoon boat, they had like a whole bar going. And they're playing. They weren't playing the music too loud, because I think they were listening to the concert. But it was just crazy. And it was like a couple of boats tied up there. And later on that night, they're anchored right next to the Burns Bridge, and there was probably 4 or 5 of them. I saw them again there Sunday night at 9:30 at night, blaring the music on there. And their stereos are awesome. I mean, they're kick butt stereos on those things. I wish I had one in my boat. But it was, you could hear him 100 yards away, like you were in the same room. So those types of things are going on all the time. So that's inherently unsafe right there. Not to mention, jet skis, Oak Island, Angela and Parks and Rec in the town installed signs on Oak Island, said no fires, no picnics, no vaping. There's already an open container law in Shrewsbury and Worcester, I believe, definitely Shrewsbury. There were signs that pointed, and the sign was on a post that pointed both out to the lake and into the island. And literally, they were standing around the sign and doing all the stuff that the sign said not to do. In fact, when I went over there Monday to kind of assess what the place looked like afterwards, and there was, and I'm going to say this, there's probably, I'm going to say 8 or 9 jet skis launching from the beach, swapping out, and there was probably 30 or 40 people, families, partying, drinking, doing all the stuff. In one instance, the one sign that we had, the sign was missing. It was ripped out. It was about 20 feet away in the woods. In the hole that the sign was originally put in, and with concrete, and the sign said no fires, someone had made a fire pit out of the hole. So, it's a blatant disregard of written rules down there. That particular area, law enforcement could actually get there by car. You'd have to get out and walk down to the end of Oak Island, I guess. But that's accessible. You don't have to be boats. But law enforcement is also mentioned that the jet skis tend to kind of scoot under the stringer dam, so they can't get at them. Because the Shrewsbury boat definitely can't get in there. So I'm hoping that maybe we can, we know where they're going. I mean, it doesn't take Batman to figure out where the hideout is. It's on Oak Island, because they're all over there all day long. So maybe we can get the environmental police boat to once in a while on a weekend to launch at the Flint Pond boat ramp. I can say this: if the environmental police really want to write a lot of tickets and have fun, they'll have a field day right there, because you can tell that these people are not obeying the rules. We ordered, by the way, the safety buoys for the Route 20 Flint Pond Route 20 bridge there. But those jet skis routinely, I saw 3 of them do it this weekend, go through there at basically 30 miles an hour under that 20-foot wide, probably 10-foot high bridge. So it's dangerous because there's obstructed views on either side of them, and this is going on all day long. That was only the 3 times I saw them do it, but every time they go by, I'm assuming, and there's not just one of them. There's like 4 or 5 or 6 in a row, like a biker gang. So it's someone's going to get hurt, and we can't say we didn't know. We can't say that we didn't see this coming, because it's happening now. So it's going back to what kind of liability that we have because we didn't do something about it or try to do something about it. So that's
Mr.
my
Mr.
comment.
Chair, may I?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, you started the conversation by saying, what ideas might you have? Well, I have a couple ideas I would share. Number one, Commissioner Polito had an idea of the town taking ownership and control of the 2 boat ramps. There's a phrase, it's you get to deal with who you let through the door. And in this case, the ramps are the door. And like Webster Lake, if maybe we had control over them and the fees are a little higher, because maybe it would be a deterrent. Number 2, Mr. Chair, maybe Town of Shrewsbury meeting members who are listening tonight could petition, and this may take a while, and then not months, but a year or 2, the town manager in Shrewsbury give serious consideration the allocation of more money for police details, specifically in the summertime on Lake Quinsigamond, so that there's monies there to be able to pay officers, and maybe there'll be seasonal officers like they have down Cape Cod that are hired for the season to keep the peace, so to speak. So, but that requires, some town meeting members speaking up, wanting to have a motion, that are going from the selectmen, and basically trying to impress upon them the seriousness, the gravity of the situation, and the need for some seasonal help. And again, on the Cape, they have seasonal police officers. They're there for the summer. They don't need them all year round, and we don't need them all year round on Lake Quinsigamond. We need them for the summer season. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. Those are two ideas.
Mr.
Anyone
Chair,
else?
a comment?
Yes.
Actually, 2 of them from opposite ends of the problem. The first comment is with regards to, at least we're trying to do something. Would it be possible, or has it been done, that we could provide an abbreviated list of the lake rules, i.e. leave out things about how you have to build a proper dock, but just include all the rules for operating on the water, and have the person at the boat ramp who collects the fees handing this out to every individual who shows up? At least it shows we're trying to do our duty, though we may not be very effective in stopping them from misbehaving. My second comment on the other end of the spectrum is, I have talked to the Grafton police chief, but unfortunately the response I essentially got from him was, he was saying his plate is too full. He's trying to take things off of his plate. The last thing he wants to do is add things to his plate.
Okay. Well, thank you for reaching out to the chief down there, and I just a response, and Angela, you can pitch in. I'm not sure if that happens at the boat ramp, but my conversation with law enforcement is that when they do interact with the boats on there, because they just asked us to print out more rules. They hand them a copy of the rules. Is that accurate, Sean?
I don't believe that they're giving out. They are posted at the boat ramps inside of the whatever the
I think
thing
they
is.
have given them out in the past, Mr. Chair.
We don't have a lot, and people are just going to throw them away anyways.
Yep.
Okay. So, all right. So you're saying you probably don't think that's effective to hand someone the rules?
No, it's not. Every time we give a citation, we give out the rules and regs, and most people could care less.
Okay. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Do you find that like regularly on the street too, Sean? Like, you pull someone over for speeding, or whatever they're doing wrong, you kick them out of the park or something like that. I mean, do they actually kind of like, yeah, whatever? And do they have the same kind of attitude, or is there a different attitude when you're
It's a different
engaging
atti-
someone on the lake than on the street?
A different attitude on the water, completely.
Okay. So basically, because they have the attitude that, wow, we don't have to listen to you, or we're not listening. Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Yep.
Well, yeah, maybe a couple of hearings. I mean, the good thing also about having a hearing on Rule 29 and Rule 30 is it's a hearing and everybody's going to see it. So I think that, people may take things a little bit more seriously when that happens. So that's a good thing. Well, okay. So, I'm all for, I'm a town meeting member. I'm all for, I mean, I know that Shrewsbury's kicking in a sum of money. I'm not sure from a budget standpoint where we are with that, which, like I said, I don't think that the town has figured that out yet. So that's that. But, asking for more money, we can talk to the chiefs. It's not just Shrewsbury. I mean, I guess we could approach the city as well. Worcester's got a little bit different situation because I'm sure that there are places more dangerous than Lake Quinsigamond and Worcester. That's a different story. And I want to reach out. What I'd like to do, one of the things I'd like to propose is that we have, I guess, a more open communication between all the efforts we have in law enforcement. In other words, between the commission and the Worcester and Shrewsbury and environmental police, that either we have meetings periodically, and you can tell me if this will help, Sean, that if we can identify where the hot spots are, maybe we use a drone to identify some of the boats that are doing things. So we at least, and I know you can't write someone a ticket because we have film of them on a drone, but what we could do is basically observe them on the drone and keep an eye out for them when they're out there. And I know that you're looking at someone may down be on the south part of the lake, and they may have their boat overloaded. They may have a full bar in the back, and you guys are busy on the north end of the lake. Giving someone a citation for doing something really dangerous on a jet ski or a boat. So it's overwhelming. I understand that. I mean, I'm just looking at the thing. I don't know how you do what you do, as good a job as you're doing out there, because it's just crazy, crazy, crazy. It reminds me of my days when I was a lifeguard at the Worcester Dennis Shine Pool up on Providence Street, and there'd be 300 kids in the pool on a Saturday, 90-degree Saturday, and it was just crazy. That's kind of what the lake reminds me of. So, all right. Does anyone else have any ideas? All right. Okay. So we have that one quick thing, or the next thing on here is discuss the possibility to vote to support the Shrewsbury Article 30 and the Shrewsbury town meeting warrant for the Community Preservation Act. And we'll have the Preservation Act. I think we had a presentation from those guys at one of our meetings, and it's basically that we can, kind of pitch in on the Shrewsbury side to buy land. Does anyone have any comments on what we should do about that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Polito.
I think this is strictly a Shrewsbury issue. I don't think this board should be taking it up. It involves only item in Shrewsbury and it involves potentially raising taxes on Shrewsbury residents.
Okay.
I strict Shrewsbury issue.
I think that's a fair statement.
A comment?
Yes.
I agree with what's Ken saying, that it's a Shrewsbury issue. I'd just like to mention that Grafton passed it a number of years back, and it has been very useful, and for example, in cleaning the weeds up in Lake Ripple in Grafton. So there are applications, if Shrewsbury passes it, that would be very useful to the lake. But I agree with Ken, it is a Shrewsbury issue for Shrewsbury
Yes.
residents.
I agree with that. And, Shrewsbury actually has, we already have a mechanism to, the land next to the boathouse was land that the town bought in conservation. And a lot of that stuff goes to the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission already. Like they say they're going to take this land, which is the stuff next to the boat ramp, the Gouch Park. That was part of that initiative. So we kind of already have that going on. I agree with you, and I agree with Ken. For my part, I'm a Shrewsbury town meeting manager. And my plan is to deal with it at town meeting. Because I'm one vote in town meeting out of the 244 people. So I'll make it known for that. But I agree that this commission, probably it's not within the entire commission's interest, because it has nothing to do with Worcester, nothing to do with Grafton. It's a good thing always I think that to have conservation land and to keep that effort up, and I believe we should probably do it, but it's not something we need to address on this commission, from my opinion. And does anyone else have a comment? Okay, so I sense that the board doesn't have an appetite to vote on this, or someone want to make a motion not to does someone want to make a motion to vote on this, or okay, so no. All right, fine, thank you. Next one, I'm sorry it took so long, Jacqueline. I hope you're still with us. But
hey there.
we always look forward to your part of the meeting.
So I could share my screen, I believe. Yes. All right. Can you all see this presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Jacqueline Burmeister, City of Worcester, Department of Public Works and Parks, the Lakes and Ponds program. I'm going to give you a abbreviated update on water quality in Lake Quinsigamond. I was last out on Lake Quinsigamond taking water quality samples today and yesterday. This is a not so recent picture. This is from my second to last visit to Poor Farm Brook. This is the beginning of the month, June 9th, or yes, was when this picture was taken. Since this picture, there's been no rain, and we are actually dry at Poor Farm Brook, earlier than usual. But I thought it was a nice picture, and it's from this month, so I put it up there. Anyway, this is just a quick rundown of the most recent water quality data. I'll break it down really quickly for you, because I know it is late. So the 23rd and 24th, I sampled from all of these sites. The north site is just below Donahue Rowing Center, and the south site is below the Route 9 bridge, a few hundred meters. The big takeaway is that the water is getting warmer. It's increased from about 11 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius just in the last month. So there's not been a lot of rain. Poor Farm Brook, as I mentioned, was dry when I went out there yesterday. The bottom temperature is still pretty chilly, but we're seeing, you'll see in the next slide, stratification is beginning to occur. There's still a lot of oxygen at the surface of the lake, which is good for our fish. At the north and the south side, it's still about 90%. I didn't see any bacteria in the open water. I know Gia is going to be presenting in a moment about some of the bacteria results in the tributaries, but I took a sample at the north site and we had very low levels for bacteria. Other takeaways here are that in the open lake, we're not seeing much in the way of phosphorus, which is that nutrient that that we're looking out for in Lake Quinsigamond. It can drive algal blooms. And there is a permit for how much we should be letting in. But the most exciting thing that I found on Lake Quinsigamond today was that the Secchi transparency was 18 feet at the south site. This is probably the deepest that I was able to see down into the water for the 4 years that I've been going out to Lake Quinsigamond. So this is most likely due to the lack of rain washing all those nutrients into the lake and all those sediments into the lake. We are seeing high clarity at all of the lakes. So it just means crystal clear waters. So it's kind of the benefit. There's a little less water, but it is very clear. So that's an interesting takeaway from the last month. So I've talked about those profiles. I've talked previously about stratification in the lake and how there are temperature differences between the top of the water and the bottom of the water that cause stratification in oxygen from the top to the bottom of the lake water column. In May, the temperature curve, which you see here in red, was pretty straight, which means the bottom and top temperature was much more similar. You'll see in June, when I went out in the beginning of the month and did this again, the temperature was higher at the surface and much lower at the bottom. And you see that this causes the oxygen level to begin to fall as it gets deeper. Right now, there's enough oxygen for fish and animals to respire normally up to 67 feet, 66 feet or so. So this is fairly the same pace that we're seeing this phenomenon happen in 2019 as well. So the lake temperature is getting warmer on top, and that's causing these oxygen deprivation to begin to occur at the bottom portion of the lake. And then finally, just some quick updates on some of the projects that Worcester has going on at Lake Quinsigamond. I have ordered these buoys for slow, no wake. These are for the 2 sites where we are going to be deploying our continuous monitoring buoys. These are the exciting novel buoys that are about the size of a Frisbee that we're going to be tethering to these big no wake buoys in order to keep people away from them so that we could transmit data on algae and water temperature and water clarity 4 times an hour, 24 hours a day. So these are these cool monitoring systems that we're hoping to deploy. It's been a little bit delayed, but we're still hoping to get them out there by July for their first year of use, probably in Worcester and probably in most of Worcester County. I don't know anyone else who's using this kind of technology on their lake. So we're hoping to get a lot of cool new data from that. And so, yeah, I just ordered these buoys and they should be coming in any day now. As far as the biofiltration unit that we're going to be putting into Lake Ave North near Coal Mine Brook, this is going to be collecting a lot of the stormwater runoff off of Lake Ave North and filtering it out before it's emptied into Coal Mine Brook and Lake Quinsigamond, thereby helping to reduce phosphorus, other nutrients, bacteria, and sediments from entering the lake. This design was approved at the Worcester Conservation Commission June 8th, which means that we are in the process of putting the project out to bid. And so we're hoping to get that bid together and put out there in the next few months so that by the end of the summer, we could have a team in there constructing it and beginning to improve water quality around Coal Mine Brook. And finally, the last thing I wanted to update you on is that we still have our angler survey. This is a survey that was developed with the other watershed associations in Worcester in an effort to better understand how fishing has changed in our Worcester lakes and ponds over time, and to start doing more outreach between the watershed associations and anglers, see if there are some projects we could identify that will both improve water quality as well as improve fishing at our lakes and ponds. So if you know anyone who fishes, it would be a huge help to our project to take the survey and just tell us a little bit about your experiences fishing in Lake Quinsigamond or any other lake or pond in Worcester. Does anyone have any questions?
There we go. Sorry, Jacqueline. I couldn't get my mic on. Which probably some people are happy about. So yeah, thanks again for that report. That's great. The discs, the buoys, are they actually going to have no wake written on them? Or they just
I believe it was something. I don't know if it was no wake. I believe it might have been danger or keep away, something more to that extent.
Is there a in the location you're gonna put them again? Is over by the boathouse or the DRC, right? What's the second location?
It's around the cove near across from the condos or the apartments on the Worcester side, in front of the condos on the Shrewsbury side, kind of near where the it's a little below White City.
A little south of White City?
Yes.
Quinsigamond Shore. So it's kind of across Marine Corps League and
yes, correct.
That area there. Okay, good. I just so you know, people will kind of expect to see the buoy out there, and because the one on the north end by DRC is going to be basically in the middle. Yes.
It will be closer. It will probably be like 1/3 out. It won't be in the middle.
1/3 from the east to the west side.
From the Shrewsbury shore. Yeah.
From the Shrewsbury side. Okay. Side. Okay. Cool. Just want to. And how far down can you see in Bell Pond?
In Bell Pond, you can see pretty much to the bottom on a good day, so about 16 feet.
About 16 feet.
Yeah, and
so that's as far down as you can see, because that's as far down as it goes.
So, right. So who knows how much further you can see?
So we're up there with the cleanest pond in Worcester.
It's been a really clear year for the lakes. The lack of rain has that one positive to it.
Do you think the lack of traffic, because the traffic's kind of come down a little bit, you know, through this whole mess we're going through. So I think that has any effect, or I guess it doesn't make any difference if it's not raining because none of the runoff's going in.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much traffic affects that.
Okay.
There's probably one other effect. The temperature has just come up in the last 10 or 15 days, so the algae really hasn't a chance to grow. So as Jack was saying, lack of rain, and it's only warmed up recently for the algae to start to grow, and both of those are giving us a very clear lake.
All right.
That's a good point. It was colder for longer this year. So we had a pretty cold spring, and then only in the last month or so has it really started having sustained warm temperatures. So that's a good point.
Yeah. That's why we pay Bill the big money. Okay. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Any other questions for Jacqueline? Comments? As always, Jacqueline, great job. Thank you so much for what you guys have been doing. Okay, moving on to the Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association. Gia.
Hello, can everybody hear me and see me okay?
Yes.
All right, I'll sing you a lullaby after this, I promise. It's very lovely to meet you all, and I will keep this short and sweet. So I just came on with Barbara, and Jacqueline recruited me. As you know, all know before, I'm from Clark University, and I'm from Worcester. I live on Shrewsbury Street, so I'm a local kid. I want to go ahead and share my screen. I have a little presentation for all of you. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this right. Let's see. Screen. Okay, how does that look to everyone?
Yep, it's up there.
All righty. So this is the 2020 progress report. So we're about almost midway in our sampling season for this year, and it's part of our water quality program, and we're testing the bacterial. We're not source tracking, so I just wanted to make that clear, as Barbara had mentioned to me earlier, but we are just testing for E. coli in the tributaries. So a little bit of an introduction. A lot of the items that I'm going to talk about are just a reflection of what is we decided to do in the QUAP and in the SAP. We really wanted to focus on quality data, and so that's kind of the theme of that goes into our sampling and analysis plan, and pretty much like our what we would like to have as an end result. So data acquisition, and it's directly related to our monitoring goals. Those are listed there. We're going to identify bacterial exceedances by testing the surface waters, and then we're going to, aggregate it, analyze it, and then eventually upload it as quality data. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So as of now, we have 10 sample locations, and if you can see, sometimes it takes a second to load, but this is the extent of our sample locations. We have 6 sample locations in the North Basin and then 4 in the South Basin. Hopefully you guys can see that and it's not too blurry. The 6 sample locations that we have in the North Basin, Jacqueline knows some of them. I think she has some of them that we cross-reference and test for. Let's see. So one of the important things that we did was for 04NB, that's for Coal Mine Brook. Initially, I had done a collection at the very forwardmost part of the brook, but then had decided, because we wanted to gain data that was representative for E. coli, so I moved a little bit further in towards the culvert. That's going to be important when we analyze the data, especially for quality data, that collection was proximal to the culvert, so we can really get a good idea of what's coming into the lake. Let's see, and then we have. So I'm not going in order like from north to south. I'm gonna go a little bit chronologically, just for the purposes of not having to go back and forth for you all. This is the Belmont Street outfall. That is the catch cage. Now just to back up a second. So every time I've gone out with Michael Liberty. I have yet to come up with a name for us right now. It's Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump. However, he is so gracious to help me get kind of, angled in there to get a good catch. So this is that area, and we come around from the lake as opposed to the initial land access that we were going to do. And then we have our UMass outfall. So that is the catch cage. Let's see. And some of the photos I've taken sporadically. I wanted to give you guys a good array of some of the images that I took, so you can kind of put map to in situ. This one was in May. This was so 26th of May was the second sample event that I had done thus far with Mike. And then we have the coal mine brook. So, and this will visually explain a little bit better than what I had said earlier about collecting closer to the lake. And this is maybe, I've estimated like 300 feet or so from this point to lake entry. And that was the most recent one. That was on the 16th. Please disregard the second photo on the right. That was a little quick update that I did, and that's going to be important later. This is Eagle Head, and that culvert that you can see there on the left side of the picture, South Quinsigamond Ave, is just behind that, and that's actually the retaining wall, and that is set back all the way behind the condos. And there's also evidence of the beaver dam there, which they are very persevering creatures. I admire them. Let's see. And this is Tilly's Brook. So you can see the picture. The circle is the culvert mouth. I didn't quite get a good picture to see the opening, but that is another collection site. Am I going too fast? Can everyone, are these loading okay in time for everyone?
I can't see, but where's?
Yep, good, thanks.
Is that over by Madukas?
That's by Buca di Beppo.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, my apologies. Let's see. And then this is one of the midpoint. It serves as a control in some ways. And so we have two midpoints, one in the North Basin and one in the South Basin. This is our North Basin one. This is just south of Coal Mine Brook. And then we have the South Basin. These are a little bit different. It's very interesting to see the differences between the North and South Basin. Very unique transition as far as like certain maybe characteristics of some of the locations that we've been through and visited already. And that will come a little bit later. I'm going to be doing a site assessment to kind of show certain areas of significance without over elaborating too much. So we have Whitla, Fitzgerald Brook. We have our second South Base midpoint. And then we have Meadowbrook, which I think is also known as Great Meadowbrook, or has been known as that name in one point in time. So I'm actually going to be asking you all a lot of questions in the future, because I don't know much about the Shrewsbury side of the lakes, especially these tributaries that seem to have a history, which I find kind of cool. So this is the Whitla pumping station. Previously, we had maybe had a prospective site to be on Ideal Terrace, but Barbara and I, during our preliminary visit on the 16th of May, decided that this would be better with the permission of the gentleman who resides at 43 Whitla. So you can actually see the construction of Whitla in the background. Now this area, I have seen a few animal tracks previously, and I'll get to the lab reports in just a second, minimally, but there was a few animal tracks, maybe mammalian wildlife, possibly a cat or skunk. And I'll go back to that picture if you'd like, but this is some of the things that I see visually when I go out and collect and also observe. This is Fitzgerald's Brook. So this is right next to Madolka's. And you can see the culvert opening here. And downstream will come right outside of there's a house that sits right next to a Madolka. And I have, this is our second midpoint. I also included 13 in this because I wanted to kind of have you guys see a visual of Meadowbrook It's a very unique location in regards to wetland delineation, which I find a little fascinating. And I've been kind of digging a little bit further to see if there's anything significant in that area. And I've also done some wetland GIS mapping as well that will also be in the final report. So this is, I wanted to let you guys see, this is the culvert opening. So South Quinsigamond Ave is just right up that you can see the street side rail. This is an area that has a lot of scum, possibly oils. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be putting in with my site assessment at some point. And this also has the wetland delineations. This is a very, very unique area. And I'm not sure if there's invasives. And that's something that I'd like to obtain from you all, because you know the area well. And all those different color codes, it's a very diverse area. So that is something that I'm going to be keeping in the back burner as I progress. And so that was the portion of the mapping. And just to give you guys an idea, who of those of you who don't know what it looks like map wise and also in situ. One of the most important things, and back to the beginning, the focus of this project is quality data. Barbara and Mike and I have had many discussions about what we hope to gain from this project. And this is pretty much something that I keep in my forefront as my standard operating guideline. And so far we've met a few of these successfully. And I'll go through that with you in just a second. And it's minimally because we have not done a reconciliation yet with our data and our lab information, but that is soon to come. So the progress that we've had so far is we've had 4 successful sampling events. We have met the data quality objectives of completeness, representativeness, and best practice. As before, the representativeness that we had mentioned was, for instance, changing the location from a proximal area to the lake as opposed to a proximal area to the culvert mouth, which I think is very important when testing for E. coli. Completeness, we have successfully completed all of our sampling. So we've gotten 12 samples every single sampling event we've gone out, because we have 10 locations, and then we have 1 duplicate and 1 blank, and those serve for QA/QC. Best practice, Barbara and I asked her to let me. She gave me some wings and let me fly. We modified our SOP for our collection method, and we use a lot of Mass DEP, WWP, a lot of good guidelines and already existing SOPs to formulate ours, that we could really, really tighten up our data quality objective. Other than that, I don't have much. I don't want to keep you all because I will talk forever. But I am going to go ahead and get out of this, hopefully successfully. And if you have any questions, or if you'd like me to repeat something, I'm a little nervous, so I apologize. My first official Zoom meeting. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Gia?
I have one. When you do the sampling, how deep do you go? Is it the surface water, or are you down a fixed depth?
It's surface. There are some areas that I have maybe less than a meter to work with. So I usually try and catch a good area where I can do a clean grab as well. So I would say no more than 6 inches in some areas, because I really want to capture the surface.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, Gia, that was excellent. That was really informative. I'm going to throw this out to you. If you would like to go and see the area on the water side of the Great Meadow Brook there, Um, I've been down there with my paddleboard. You can
Yes.
you can come down there because you can get in there with that thing. It's pretty cool. It's definitely a different part of the lake. I mean, you know,
It is. I
you can
agree.
get down and see. We had everything from a big, UMass and helicopters landing to you go down there, and it's just like this whole nature thing. And I think the only invasive I really saw down there was purple loosestrife was kind of taking over the waterway there. But you're right, it is very, very not the term you use, but it's kind of oily and mucky and not someplace you want to fall in.
No, and I'm wondering if at a later time I'd love to pick all of your brains I'll also do the research thing, but I'm very curious as to why that area is like that. I don't know if it's
Well, that brook, if you follow it back, it goes all the way back to Maple Ave in Shrewsbury. So it goes under Route 9. It's, there's a lot of development, commercial and industrial on the route. So that could be it. And it's been like that for a long, long time. So that's where it comes to. So there's probably some runoff coming through there. There's probably all kinds of stuff that we don't know. But that's why we're doing this, to find out that you just kind of tweaked my interest more on that neck of the woods there. So great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're through with that stuff. The date for the next meeting, I'm going to say is July 29th. Is that correct, Angela?
Yes, July 29th, 7 o'clock, and it'll probably still be virtual.
Okay, so because these are a lot of fun, and so that's that. And that said, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's probably a ninth. Okay, I'm going to go through and poll again one more time. Mr. Pica?
Aye.
Officer Valier?
Aye.
Thank you. Captain DeAndre?
Aye.
DeAndre, sorry. Thank you. Mr. Polito?
Aye.
Mr. Nickerson?
Aye.
Miss Amory?
Muted.
Okay. I'm gonna take that as an aye. And Mr. Nelson?
Aye.
I hope so. It's your motion. And me? Aye. Thank you very much, guys. Sorry for the late meeting. Everyone stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aye.
Everybody.
Bye.